be a better, person, or like so you could own your own basically business or whatever. I took from that because I grew up like that too. Because I'm the only child. I grew up with my mom saying like, okay, I want you to go to school so you won't end up being like me.
Okay.
So that's what I took from it.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, Jacob Engler. Jacob. Oh, I got some hands raised. Let's try Jacob first. Jacob, you here? Okay, I'm going to mark you as absent.
Can you hear me?
Oh, Jacob, there you go. Hold on.
Yeah, sorry,
let me
my
let, let, let
headphones
me
weren't
let me
working. I had to
unmark you.
unplug them.
All right, I
All
can
right,
hear you now.
I'm here.
Definitely. All right, Jacob. So like I got. Let me pin this. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. I hope so. Because I'm trying to level up too, right? I'm trying to get a better Zoom presence. Let's see here. Let me. I'm going to spotlight everyone on this one, Jacob. Okay.
All right.
Can you see that? Let's see if I could get it. This is in the workbook. What's that story there? What do you think that story is?
I mean, it's showing I guess us on top of the mountain, and there's the arrows going both ways, in the past and the present. I guess it's saying that we should live in today.
Okay. Well, not even that we should, right? I'm just saying, like this picture. Somebody else want to speak on this picture?
Personally, the way I see the picture is like we're just constantly in between like the past and the past and the future, and like I see like it's a timeline, so it's seen as like personally I see it as like which timeline or which side of the timeline are you gonna do? Like, are you gonna keep living in the past or you're gonna go to the present? Because we're constantly in the middle, no matter what.
Okay, so we're constantly in the present, right? So thank you. So let me give my own interpretation of it, right? So this story right here, for me, is kind of like the pale blue dot, right? It's like we're on this mound of earth, right? That right there, right? We're on that mound of earth, right? It's the only home that we know, okay? And as far as we know, we have ancestry that goes back at least 200,000 years, right? And there's there's 8 billion people on the planet right now. And what we do today is going to influence at least 200,000 years into the future. Okay, and so that's just a time and space discussion, right? It's like, okay, right? So when you look in terms of linear time, right? There's a past, there's a present, and there's a future, right? And then when you look in three-dimensional space, right? There's height, width, and breadth, right? And so you and I, right? As far as we know, we live in that kind of realm, right? That we have ancestors that have influenced us today, right? And what we do can influence. I mean, yeah, 200,000 years. Okay, that might be. You may not see it, right? But you heard the story about the butterfly effect, right? That a butterfly, wings, the wind volume underneath the wings of the butterfly can produce a hurricane somewhere else on the planet. Well, what you do, right, in response to the world that you live in today is going to influence the world tomorrow. Okay, so that's the main story there, right? And so, like, what occupies the minds. Let's see, what I got next, right? Okay, so that's the physical, right? But and thank you, Jacob, and thank you, Germany. Hermione. Okay. Okay, so a hand raised. Hermione, you want to ask something or say something?
Germany, just like the country.
Germany.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had my hand raised. It was the first question you asked about like the interpretation of the homework that we had to do. Like I was gonna put my input, but I don't know if you still want us to answer that
Okay,
question.
yeah. So let me put it into context and then you can answer it, right?
Okay.
Because it's kind of like, so you might say, okay, well, Dr. Haynes, you talking about our presence, right, in linear time, right, in space, right, on this planet. We're held to the planet by gravity. You're getting all deep on us like that, right? But the assignment was very specifically about financial statements, right? And this guy writing about that the financial habits of the poor, the middle income class, and the rich. So how do they relate to each other, right? This discussion of me on the earth between past and future, how does that relate to a discussion of the financial habits? You want to try that? Remy?
Does it relate? Does it relate because of generational wealth?
Um,
That's how I see it. Like I see it as like though when I was because I had was also reading like the book while I was like watching like hearing or whatever,
mhm.
and like I felt like one thing that was like a common thing was like how your mindset has a lot to do with what you're doing and how you will think and then how you will do things, and like your mindset basically controls how you're going to be. And like comparing it back to the picture, like how you're like we're basically on top of my, like in the end we're just a blue dot, like referring back to the first assignment.
Well,
And
let me stop you real quick. Like not every, like we could see ourselves. I mean, one of the reasons that I presented it that way is that because a lot of us, we don't see ourselves in such a very humble way, right? A lot of us are just so overwhelmed with our life experiences, right? Relationships, right? Trying to put food on the table, right? Fear, right? And it's like ah. And so what I'm trying to say, like, wait a second, right? Yes, you're having those experiences, or you might be having those experiences, but let's put those experiences in context, right? Human beings have had fearful experiences, right, from the very beginning, right? We had to run away from tigers, right? We had to run away from wild animals, right? We had we have this inside of us. What is it? Fight, flight, or freeze, right? In a fearful situation, what do? We're either going to fight, right? We're going to flight, right? We're going to run, or we're just going to freeze, right? And so that is part of our, I don't know exactly, but I would say kind of like in a philosopher kind of way, that's part of our DNA, right? This fight, flight, or freeze, right? But in a lot of times that is connected to fear, right? Something's going to hurt us or destroy us or even kill us, right? But today, in the 21st century, we just have this like blanket of fear, right? We're not sure what we're afraid of exactly. We're just scared, right? We turn on the news, it's fearful, right? We talk to our pastor, he's like, we're going to burn in hell, right? I mean, so we got this general level of fear, okay? And so when it comes to mindset, is that, okay, right? Do we have to stay there? Okay, so do we really have to stay there? And then like what actually makes us human beings? Whether it's 200,000 years ago, or whether it's going to be 200,000 years from now, or whether it's today. And so one of the things that I want to present in this course, right, is that we could debate and we could philosophize about all of this, but there's certain things that are true, right? At least as far as I can understand, right? And so we're going to talk about this idea of political economy, right? But what I'm going to assume is true, right, is that human beings exist. I'm just going to assume that, right? As a matter of fact, I'm going to postulate that, right? So I'm going to build an analysis that will get us to our discussion of personal finance. But to get there first, right? I'm saying that let's take this broader perspective. A lot of us are in a very narrow perspective, right? That, you know, and I'm saying, okay, let's open up a bit. Okay. So like there's the next section in the workbook, right, is connected to some invisible stuff. Okay. So the first part was connected to the physical, right? But our thoughts and our feelings are invisible, are they not? Class, would you agree that thoughts and feelings are invisible? And they're just that, excuse me?
Sorry, I just said I agree.
Oh, okay, right. And that they're just as significant to how we handle the world we live in as like being able to, so I think I did mention in this class, right, already, that like for us to continue to survive, right, not only do we need to procreate, you know, so that we have descendants, right, but like to survive in the present, just me and you, right, is that we're gonna have to figure out a way to eat. We're gonna need food. We're gonna need water, right, some kind of liquid, water or its derivative. We're gonna need air, right, and it could be just straight up air, right, and depending on how deep you get, it could be air filled with prana, right, or air filled with chi, air filled with energy, right, but it could be just straight up air, right, because, you know, like, you know, how deep you think about what you breathe, right, I mean, that's on you, right, and then we need sleep, right, you know, and what regularity of our sleep is, whether it's 6, 7, 8 hours a day, right, or whether you sleep in like 3 hours here, 2 hours there. But bottom line is, because a lot of the success and the motivational stuff is like, say, like sleep is for punks, right? It's like, nah, if you're on your grind, you sleep when the grind is done, right? Which might be, I mean, that's something that we need to talk about possibly, right? But the truth is that you're gonna have to sleep, right? I mean, some way or somehow. And then the last little bit is, right, we need life, right? I would not be, you know, I wouldn't be here, right? You wouldn't be seeing me on this Zoom presentation if I was not alive, right? Okay, and so we need all those things. And the thing is that we need those things in a particular economic system that you and I live in today, right? And the economic system that you and I live in today is, or the political economic system that you and I live in today is called capitalism, right? And there's certain rules to this capitalist game or this capitalist economic system, okay? And so in this capitalist economic system, you have to figure out, right? Bottom line is you need to generate some kind of income, right? So that you could either have a secure lifestyle, a comfortable lifestyle, or a rich lifestyle, right? But you need to secure some kind of income. Now, that securing an income, that's not really what was going on 200,000 years ago. Right, 200,000 years ago. I mean, you know, I've talked a lot so far, so I'm going to unpin myself. Let's see. Hold on. How do I do that? Remove spotlight. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to remove myself as a spotlight, but I'm saying that the way you and I have to survive, the way we have to consider things like the financial habits of poor, the financially poor, the financially rich, or the financial middle income, that conversation was not a 200,000-year-old conversation. They weren't talking about that 200,000 years ago. Commentary on that statement, on my statement. Hamza?
You want me to answer like how 2,000 years ago they didn't have this statement, or about
Yeah.
So I mean, like what I get from the poor and rich dad is like they both valued their education, but one of them really focused on creating that passive income, that income that comes when you're asleep, rather than getting your income and wasting it all on liability. Now, we didn't have that 2,000 years ago, but mean, I'm sure they had, you know, their own definition of wealth, and because like it said, like everyone has his own definition of wealth.
Okay. And now, okay, thank you, Hamza. And let me see, what's your last name?
Al-Kaysiyya.
Okay, let me just mark you as present. Okay, thank you, sir. Let's see. Ms. Martinez? You want to speak on something?
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about the Rich Dad Poor Dad video. I
Okay.
was gonna like something I took away like majorly was the difference between assets and liability.
Uh-huh.
Because he was saying that the difference between the rich dad and the poor dad is close to nothing. They have the same education. The poor dad had a very stable job. That's what he encouraged his son to do. But since he didn't have a lot of assets that puts his like money in his pocket consistently, aside from like the hours that he has to be hands-on working, he doesn't have any money to save over for like his expenses. So they were basically like encouraging that you buy assets and make sure that you're hold on. I have it in my notes. It says that like when your income is the same as your expenses and your assets are lower than your liabilities, you're gonna stay poor no matter how hard you work. Because you're just gonna be living like check to check.
So
But
that captured your attention?
yes, a
Was
lot.
that like a wake-up call?
Yes, because I actually take this class because I want to learn about personal finances and how to take stuff into my own hands.
Yes.
So, like hearing this, I was like, "Oh my god! Like, why didn't I know this before?"
Well, we're glad that you know it now, and we're glad that you're sharing it with the rest of the class, right? Your take it from there. Appreciate it. And so what I want to do as we get into this very mundane, very real discussion about dollars and cents, I still want to say, I still want to hold you to what's the meaning of life, right? You know, it's like, okay, you know, like do we really understand how precious that from birth to the end of our life really is, or what it really can be, right? And what our own personal role is in determining what it is or what it can be. Okay, so I'm gonna come at you from a philosopher perspective, but we're coming straight up personal finance also. So thank you. Randall Clark, can you put your camera on, please? Hey, sir.
So what I was also going to talk about the video.
Okay, go ahead.
So what I picked up
Real quick before you say it, seemed like y'all like that video. Did you guys and ladies like that one?
Yeah, I did like it.
Okay, good. All right, Randall.
That was really insightful.
Good. Okay, Randall, go ahead, please.
So what I picked up about the videos is what both fathers told the son. Like when they had the poor dad, what he told the son was the basic, oh, how to get rich, you have to get your education, you know, what the basics, what they would tell you. And then when he actually went to the rich father was like, excuse my language, like cut the BS. Well, I'm gonna tell you what exactly you should do. Like just the difference in what they both told you when it came to both their incomes, even though they had the same education.
Okay, well, they didn't have the same education because Rich Dad was a PhD. So he was a doctor, right? He was a
And the
professor.
rich dad dropped out in 8th grade.
And Rich Dad was a 8th grade. So that's a middle school dropout.
Yeah.
All right. So you want to follow up on that, ma'am?
I raised my hand because I was going to talk about like capitalism, like the economic system. Like I just wanted to refer back to what you were saying about like I feel like there's a sociologist, I believe it was Karl Marx. He was mentioning the whole thing about surplus value, which is basically like just like a good example is like a billionaire like company like McDonald's and stuff like that, they will pay wages like $15 an hour and they will get mad if you work overtime and stuff like that. But the reality is like you're taking like 1% of how much they really have. Like they have way more than they really have. And I feel like I'm a sociology major. So like a lot of the timeline that gets into like us now has been written for years, like already been said, and it's just like we're just following a timeline. Like after capitalism, the timeline we're supposed to go to is socialism. But if we go into socialism, a lot of like the capitalist mindset and the power that's really in the 1% is gonna have like a lot of difficulties. Like we're not supposed to come together as a whole, because believe it or not, us, like the whole overpowers the 1% if we really did go for it. But we just live, like going back to that idea of what you were saying, like we just live in fear just because it's like, what if this, what if that? We were literally programmed to go to school and do this, like, and if you don't go to school, then you look seen as bad. If you don't go to school, then this and that. But we were never taught like anything that will be quote unquote useful in real life.
Okay, thank you. Now, let me ask you this real quick, right? So you say we live in fear, and I was talking about that also. But can an individual, any of the 8 billion people, like I don't think everybody lives in fear, right? I think there's a mass psychology, a consensus reality that is really highly motivated by fear. Like if you consistently watch CNN, CNBC, Fox News, right? If you consistently watch the news, right? If you consistently listen to a fire and brimstone preacher, right? Or if you consistently listen to a patriarchal adult male who's saying that, that the man is supposed to dominate the world or stuff like that, right? And it just got all these different perspectives, right? That generate fear, right? Implying power on other human beings, not upon yourself, right? If you consistently do that, but my question is, can you not like instantaneously change that? And when you hear me say, can you not instantaneously change that? What do you think I mean by that?
I mean, I think you mean like, can you just change that perspective in your own eyes? Like more like when you say that word, I think more of like the word instant, like you see how you like have an instant feeling about certain things, or like when you know something is bad for you, you have like a feeling or whatever. That's how I say, like, I feel like you're asking me or the class, I don't know if it's like,
Yeah, no, the class,
if like, can your instance change your perspective on that situation, like if you're watching something daily? And I believe you can. I feel like it's all about mindset. What you believe is what will happen. So I feel like that's what it gets to. So like if
hold on a second, real quick. And like, is that really true? What you believe is that's what's going to happen? Like if you believe in monsters, right? Like when you're a child and you thought that the boogeyman was coming to get you, right? I mean, those are things that you believed, right? I mean, is that true? Is that really going to happen? Really?
Yes, I believe it's true, because like although like you never saw no monsters, you still had to fear that there was a monster in real life, and you would still fear that. But when I say what you believe will happen, I'm talking about like more so going back to mindset. If you believe you're gonna be poor, and if you believe that everything you do is impossible, what you do is gonna be impossible just because you can't shift out that mindset.
Okay. All right. And so I like the direction you're taking this to, because, but it's not just what you believe, right? Because okay, and Byron put like mental laziness, right? You could instantaneously defy public media by turning your TV off. That's right. And I think that like I know that, I know in my own life, right, that I've had experiences, right, that I had a certain perspective in life, and then one day something so intense happened that boom, I like, oh shit, shoot, right, that, oh, this happened, right, and then all of a sudden I was a different human being, and and the change was instantaneous. Like I'll never forget what that happened, right, and that's happened a few times in my life. Okay, and then the question is, can you like take your mind under your own control and make that happen? But what I want to add to that, right? Again, let me get back to the. I'm going to put myself in the screen here, spotlight for everyone. I want to add to that, right? Is that not only is it what you think, but it's what you feel. Okay, it's what you feel. Like, so I personally, I like, I like to play basketball, right? And I could be, I could shoot, I guess most of you might be familiar with the game of basketball. So if if I'm using this metaphor, I'm assuming that you might like relate to the metaphor, right? But like I could be on the free throw line with the ball in my hand, and my mind says I'm going to make the shot, but my heart says I don't know if I'm going to make the shot. I got a little bit of fear, right? But if my heart says I'm going to make the shot and my mind says I'm going to make the shot, then the chances of me making the shot are significantly greater. Is that right? Okay. So like, and again, as we lay out our ability to deal with the 21st century, right, and the experiences that you and I are experiencing in the 21st century, what I would like us to understand is, again, we're part of this linear history, past, present, and future, and what we do today is going to impact the future. Like there's, like some people say, and we'll talk about it here, there's an infinite amount of possibilities that could happen from today into tomorrow. It's infinity, right? Anything could happen. And then you and I can make conscientious decisions that, okay, well, this is going to happen. Like, for example, I can make a conscientious decision that, well, I know tomorrow I'm going to make my bet. It's possible that I won't, but I'm going to make a decision that, okay, when I get up tomorrow, or when I get ready to go to work, right, I'm going to make sure that bet is made, right? That's a conscious decision to make something happen in the future, okay? So there's all these possibilities, right? And, but like, based on what we received from our ancestors, both alive and dead, right, will influence how we handle our present and how we will handle the future. But so coming back to the framework. So the framework is we're in this linear, well, we could perceive it, right? We could just for sake of the conversation, there's a past, present, and the future, and that we're in this three-dimensional space. We think about things and we have feelings about things. And we already talked about, like I already showed this in class, correct? We already talked about this?
Yes.
Okay, we already talked about that. Okay, so then, right, let's see here. Okay, so another way of interpreting that like where we at in the present is that we are experiencing both social heredity and physical heredity. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. So again, we want to put this, because like our ancestors 500 years ago, they weren't talking about financial statements, income, expenses, assets, and liabilities. But they did have to figure out how to put food on the table. They did have to figure out how to secure something to drink, right? They did have to figure out, right? I mean, they had to breathe. They had to breathe, and they had to figure out how to organize society, right? They did that, okay? And so we've received from them, right, their style, right, of how to handle problems, for example, right? And we received like physical heredity, right? We received DNA, right? Our features, right? From and maybe like certain portions of our personality, right, just came through the DNA. Like I'm just like my mom, or I'm just like my grandfather. Oh, an aunt would say, you know what, you were just like your great grandfather. He was like that, right? I mean, so that comes down into our DNA, right? And all of that influences the things that we think, right, and the actions that we take. Okay, so let's talk about that: social heredity and physical heredity. Again, making our way to the fact that part of our social heredity, you and me, okay, and the reason I say you and me, right, is that part of our social heredity is that we're working class. I mean, if you're at Buffalo State College, right, the chances of you being working class, I would say, is like 95%, right? How many of you, like, we could talk about what working class means, right? But how many of you would say that you are the children of working class parents? Let me just get some reactions there. Okay, and you, okay, right. So that's what we are. And so as the children of working class parents, right, you know, they love us, and they might teach us things that they feel are correct, right, that may not be appropriate for what's going on in the 21st century. Okay, so working class, so social heredity, right? What other kinds of things might be social heredity? Anybody? Kaya Reed?
Like,
Kaya Reed? Kaya Reed? Okay, I'm gonna mark you as absent, Kaya Reed. David Rodriguez?
yes.
Okay, David. All right. So if we're going to talk about social, I'm trying to push the conversation, right? So now we're at this idea of social heredity. What do you think that means, and what's the impact on your life and my life? And not just ours, but everybody in this class right now.
Well, first I would say, like, as human beings, we're drawn to being social creatures. We're not used to being individual or alone. So we usually want to fit into a group.
Okay.
But I
And
feel
so,
like we
like,
just
like David, I see that your last name is Rodriguez, right? So that suggests to me that you fit in a particular group. Am I right?
yeah, that would be Latino or
Some kind
Spanish
of
because
Latino,
of
right?
yeah.
Okay. And is there like do like young Latino men who are influenced by their mothers and fathers face issues? Are there certain things that are handed down? Are you Puerto Rican, Dominican, what?
I'm Dominican,
Okay.
personally.
So is there, and that's an island culture, right? That a lot of
Yeah.
Dominicans make their way, like a lot of Dominicans who make their way to my class have come, you know, like maybe their parents, their first generation or second generation immigrants, typically from New York City and some of the boroughs, and make their way to Buff State. Is that kind of like the story?
Yeah, that's exactly my story. I would say second generation. My grandparents came here from Dominican Republic. So
Okay. And so what have you received, right, from your ancestors, both alive and dead, that influence the way you handle challenges today in the 21st century?
one of the things was just to continue, like, to keep trying and do whatever I want to do the best I can. That was always like a thing that my grandfather instilled in me. He was just like, just be the best that you can in whatever you want to do. So
Okay. And so that's something that you carry into the 21st century.
Yeah.
So like I would say that like my parents felt the same way, right? My mom and dad, right? And like from the very beginning, when I was a baby, they wanted me to go to college, right? And again, like I was first generation college in my broader extended family, right?
so am I.
Okay. And so that they perceived that as revolutionary, right? You know, so I went, you know, so first generation college all the way to a PhD, right? That was revolutionary, right? In terms of our family, right? In our extended family. But what was not revolutionary was that I was still a wage or a salaried worker, right? So I'm a state employee. My father worked in the military. He worked for the federal government. He worked in the Air Force, right? My mother worked for a salary. She worked for a wage, right? So for them, what was radical and revolutionary was that I went to college, right? And even more so, because like I was in college in my 30s, and people were like, "Yo, dude, you got 2 kids and you still in school at 30? You got to get a life." Right, you got to take care of your responsibilities. And so again, through fortune and what have you, you know, I was able to finish my education, right? But when I got a job, well, first of all, before I even got a job, I had to enter into the labor market, Okay, I had to enter the labor market. And so I went in, so a lot of people would think that, okay, well, Dr. Haynes, you got a PhD in economics, right? That was a guaranteed job. No, it wasn't. There was a lot of people with PhDs in economics. It was a competitive labor market. Like when I applied for a position here at Buffalo State College, I was not the only person who applied for that position. Right? When I applied for jobs in California, down in Atlanta, in Detroit, right, New York City, right, New Hampshire, when I applied for those jobs, right, those colleges that I applied for those jobs at, they were offering positions. And I'm like, look, here I am. I got skills. I got a degree. I got a PhD in political economy. Okay. And then the negotiations, I went to the different colleges in the labor market, we negotiated, right? But then the deal that I got at Buff State, right, and the deal they got with me, right, we agreed, and they decided to hire me, and so I became a state employee through Buffalo State College, right? That was radical, that was revolutionary, right? However, I was still an employee, okay? And what Rich Dad Poor Dad stuff is about is, well, you know, the idea in the world of the employee, the way it's played out, that is very 20th century, right? And we're in the 21st century, right? So for example, right, as an employee, as a state employee, I have a single source of income, okay? Well, learning through Rich Dad Poor Dad, right, is that if you have a single source of income and that source of income disappears and you have expenses and liabilities, the what do you call it? The American dream of the middle class lifestyle turns into an American nightmare. Right? You're making money, all of a sudden that money disappears, but you still got expenses and you still have liabilities. Okay. So when we coming back full circle, right, talk about finance, is that what is going to be really radical for you is to really understand this. Okay. Is to really understand it. Okay. So thank you, David.
Professor, I have a question.
Yes.
So do you think when you were
Brandon.
continuing your education and you were going to finish your degree, would you consider yourself like a poor dad then, but you're giving yourself the option to be a rich dad once you completed your degree?
I would say that I could 100% relate to Robert Kiyosaki's Poor Dad. Okay. And what that means is that, you know, I'm teaching this course in personal finance. I started teaching a course called Technical Analysis of Financial Markets. I started teaching a course called Cryptocurrencies, Blockchains, and the Global Economy. Those are all financial courses. But when I came to Buffalo State College, I just taught straight up economics. Okay. And so one of the things I could say about my own trajectory, right, is that it wasn't until the turn of the century, from in 1999 to 2000, that time period, I was pretty ignorant on finance. Right? I didn't know any of this. I was on sabbatical leave in 1999, meaning that, like, we as college professors, right, what our contract is for a college professor is scholarship, teaching, and community service, right? That's what I get paid to do, right? I don't get paid just to teach economics classes. I get paid to do scholarship, right? And I also get paid to do community service, right? So it's the package of that trilogy that I get paid. And I get a state check, right, from New York State every 2 weeks, okay? So I was on leave. One thing about being a college professor, right, I'm one of the original knowledge industry workers, right? Like, so I was a knowledge industry worker in the second quarter of the 20th century. Where the money's at in the 21st century is going to be in the knowledge industry, right? All of you are going to have to learn, right, to use your minds. You're going to have to learn to be critical thinkers. You're going to have to learn to be creative thinkers. You're going to have to learn to be constructive thinkers. You're going to have to learn to be curious thinkers. all of that is not only is that going to generate a better quality of life for you, but if you develop all of those, critical thinking, constructive thinking, creative thinking, curious thinking, that could be monetized, right? That could be monetized either as an employee, or that could be monetized as a small business owner, or it could be monetized as a big business owner, or it could be monetized as an investor. Okay, so that kind of thinking, right? Coming back to my experience was that like I really didn't know all that, right? And then when I was on sabbatical leave, which is like every 7 years, I have an opportunity to like not teach and do my scholarship. Well, in 1999, I had a chance to travel the country, and I remember I was in New York City at the was it Grand Central Station, right? And I was headed out west by train, right? And I picked up the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and honestly, I would say that book changed my life, right? Because now I do have multiple streams of income. Right now, I own income property. Right now, I got a LLC, right? I have a real estate company. Right now, I'm building a C corporation, a stock-based company, right? And that company is called the Conscious Investment Group, right? And it's a venture capital financial literacy cooperative. Actually, it's a co-op, right? And so after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, right, and also recognizing that a lot of people who were attracted to me as Dr. Haynes, right, they weren't really attracted to me with regards to traditional economics. It was this other stuff that I was talking about. Okay, and so when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, it like I said, it changed my life, right? So that's my answer. I really didn't understand that I only had a single source of income. Again, I'm a child of working class parents, right? I come from a working class family. It was revolutionary for me to have a PhD and get a job as a college professor. I get that, right? But I still had the mentality of a working class person. Does it make sense to your question? Okay. Anybody else? Any other questions on that? Oh, Ashton, you had something that you were asking?
No, not really, not really. Yeah, I just want to add on to like my part of the reading and what I took away from it. But I'll do that after you know.
No, I'm switching up right now. Go ahead.
All right, so boom, I was gonna say one thing that I really took away from the book. Well, I mean from part 2, the audio was the passion. In one of the lines in the book, I mean, it was in the audio book, he was saying passion is anger and love combined. And that stuck out to me because a lot of times, as working individuals, as people who, as people in the poor dad mindset, a lot of us have feelings of anger and, cause you go into a job, you're doing something you don't want to do, but that stuck out to me because I never looked at it as that's the way you find your passion. Because in the book, he was saying, he asked Robert Kiyosaki and Robert Kiyosaki's friend, what if I paid you 25 cents an hour? And to them, that was too much. And yeah, like, no, it was 10 cents. It was, what if I paid you 10 cents an hour? And he got mad. He was like, oh, 10 cents, what am I doing that for? Right. And that's the same feeling that a lot of people today feel, like, oh, I'm getting paid $20 an hour. Yeah, I'm getting $1,000 a month, but after expenses, I only got $200 in my pocket. So, that's why that line stuck out to me, because a lot of people feel those emotions but never act on them. The Rich Dad was saying act on them because that's how you find your passion.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, that's definitely one way, right? And I think that description or that story that you just mentioned, that's really important, right? Because like your generation, that's the language that's being used, passion, right? But my generation, 20th century generation, it wasn't about passion. It's like, yo, I got to feed the family. If I got to work at Bethlehem Steel and work on an assembly line, work and get, have my hands burned because I'm working with molten steel, right? Well, I'm not really passionate about that, right? I'm not really loving that, but I know I'm getting a good paycheck. It's a solid job, right? And I'm taking care of my family. Your generation, right? It's kind of like, well, like what, describe and understand, what are you good at, right? What do you like to do, right? And how do you monetize that? And okay, what are you good at? What do you like to do? How do you contribute to the world, right? Right. And how do you monetize that, right? That's a whole different conversation than the people who like were, they were like, yeah, I just got to get a job. I got to work. I'm not happy during this work period, right? As a matter of fact, I can't wait till the weekend, right? When I get off of work. But like I said, that way of living, that's the 20th century way of living. And let me also say this, right? Because a lot of times so again, coming out of our heart, we have feelings and we have emotions, right? Some people will say that emotions, right, are our children, feelings are our teachers, right? So we got emotions. Emotions typically are reactionary, right? Feelings can be creative, right? So the thing is that a lot of times when we're in that position, right, we don't want to give full work. Like, yo, we being used, we being abused, right? So I'm not going to give good quality work, right? Sometimes even college students, dealing with college classes, it's like, yo, this is a hustle, man. I really don't want to be in college. I want to be on the other side of college, and so as a result, you don't give full work in your college classes, right? Because you're like, you're not feeling it, right? But the thing is that, being the best you can be, right, is a habit. It's a habit. You can't be the best you want to be in this part of the world, but then you don't act like the best you can be in the other part of the world, right? So the thing is that, again, going back to the philosopher part of me, is that, okay, right, 21st century world, right, you guys and ladies, right, you're about your passions, right, in identifying those passions, right? But okay, I forgot what I was gonna say about that. Let's keep going. Passions. All right, let's keep going. Anybody want to speak?
I kind of want to say something.
Go ahead, Linwei Chen.
So I've actually been having this question. It's like, if you let people choose between, let's say, making $30 an hour but doing something that they don't like, or making 15 hours an hour but it's something that they do like what do you think people would choose? Like, because for me personally, I would choose the one that pays more, because like a lot of us, I come from a working class family, and I would rather be, better off than doing, like, what quote unquote makes me happy.
Okay. No, I like that. That was a great commentary, right? So I think that like part of the answer is, right, what do you plan on doing with your life, right? So a lot of times, right, again, I might take at a young age like yours, right, the chances are I'll go for the money, right? But are you going to go for the money when you're 30? Are you going to go for the money when you're 40? Are you going to go for the money when you're 50? Right? At some point, right, you may want to go for the money right now, but you could treat it as preparation. So for example, Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, he worked at Kodak, right? He was, he described himself as having a shy personality, right? And when he took that job at Kodak, right, he took on a sales job, right? And the reason he took on that job, not because he actually did turn down some money, right? He turned down, from what I understand, he turned down a big paycheck, right? Maybe in the Merchant Marines or something like that, because, you know, he was following his dreams. Okay. And so the thing is that a lot of times what happens to us, right, when we're children, you know, our parents tell us to follow our dreams, right? You know, when you're 5, 6, 7, 8, you know, oh, it's so cute. You got these dreams. Oh, it's so cute. But by the time you're 15, 16, and 17, it's like, yo, get real. And then if you have a child on the way, right, you definitely got to get real. You like, you know, forget these dreams. I got to make some money. I got a child on the way, right? So one thing is that like what has happened to a lot of us as working class people is we work for money, right? And that's one of the reasons I gave you the Bitcoin example, right? Is that, you know, we work for money. Rich people don't work for money. They work for assets. And Bitcoin is an asset, right? But so is income property, and so is creating businesses. But you and I, right, because, you know, we're hungry and we have a $20 an hour job and a $15 an hour job or a $10 an hour job, we go for the 20 because we're working for money. Now, again, so I would say that might work, right? As long as that working for money fits within your dreams, right? If you are pursuing your dreams and that little bit of money that you're taking some of that residual and you're taking some of your residual and you're putting into your asset column, you're taking some of that residual is you're putting into asset column because you want to become a different kind of human being because, yeah, I took the $20 an hour job, but I want a career, right? Not a job, right? Or I want to create a company. I want to create jobs for other people, right? Well, I'm going to take this $20 right now. I'm going to put $5 away every, you know, $5 per hour away for every paycheck because, yeah, I got a $20 an hour job. It's not quite what I want, but it's preparing me for what I want. So when Robert Kiyosaki, who wanted to be an entrepreneur, took a job at Kodak, right? He became a salesperson, right? And so the idea of being a salesperson fit his dream, right? Because to be a good entrepreneur, you need to be a good salesperson, right? You need to be able to sell your products. So he took that job, not because it was a good paycheck, even though he got a decent paycheck, but he took the job because it fit within his dreams and within his passions and his desires, his goals, and his aspirations. Does that help you? Does that answer anything, Linway? Okay. So yeah, we, you know, I can't be mad at anybody taking that $25 an hour job, right? But again, do you want to stay in that job for the next 30 or 40 years, right? And I would say that we have to rediscover, like if we forgot some of our dreams, because again, you know, a dream, a set of dreams between 0 and 10, there's a particular kind of dream. A set of dreams between 11 and 19, that's a particular kind of dream. A set of dreams between 20 and 29, that's a particular kind of dream. A set of dreams between 30 and 40, that's a particular kind of dream. So your dreams are going to change, right? But don't give up on them, right? Find new ones. And then if there's something that you don't like to do, like you may not like this class, right? But it's like, okay, like, or maybe any class, right? You may not like the way professors teach in college, okay? But you want the degree, okay? Well, then you just might have to trick yourself into loving it. Trick yourself, right? Because ultimately, you know, me putting on my philosopher hat again is like, I think that we human beings, we value happiness. We value love. It's just that we forget about that. We get distracted by so many other things. And then we give up on happiness and we give up on love, right? Because all this other stuff happens in our lives. But I'm saying, like, don't give up on it, right? You know, hold on to it, right? You know, don't forget what happiness looks like. Don't forget what love looks like, and then try to find a way to secure an income where you don't give up on those things. Tyler, what you got to say, sir?
Which one? There's two of us.
Tyler Keller, sorry.
Oh, so I was just gonna say, you know, going on the previous question, wouldn't it just depend on how much you need the money? Because if you don't need it that much, then you have more time to like focus on what you really want to do, like your dreams and all that. So I guess it would just depend on how much you need the money, taking which job you would like the higher paying or not.
You want to speak on that, Linway?
I mean, I kind of had a different like thought or process, but then I think it kind of changed after like hearing what you said, because like personally right now I would definitely take like the higher paying job, and when I have some foundations that found out, maybe like I would change what I like to do or want to do.
Okay. And so what I would say, again, so what I would say to that is that, no, get back to your dreams, right? You're early 20 something, start building early 20 something dreams, and then start building a framework to turn those dreams into reality. But you get at the same time, it's like, don't forget the practicality of putting food on the table, right? I mean, that's what's unique, right? Your ancestors 200,000 years ago, they had to put food on the table. Your ancestors, your descendants 200,000 years into the future, they're probably going to have to figure out how to put food on the table, right? Now, they may be able to do it. Like, I know, like today we got, they use 3D printing to produce cheeseburgers, right? And then put all this fake stuff in the cheeseburger, and it tastes like a cheeseburger. I get it. And maybe that's what it's going to look like in the future. Okay. But at the same time, like I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, right? Like, what is the difference between a human being and artificial intelligence? Right? What's the difference? Because when it comes to very practical things, artificial intelligence beats the human being hands down. Right? But when it comes to creativity and emotions of love, right, or hate, right, or passion, like the ability to galvanize those things. One thing that we as human beings do, right? A lot of times what we do, we think about what we don't want, right? We wake up like, I don't want to go to class. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Go to bed thinking, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. All right. And so like, but some people say that thoughts are things. And if thoughts are things, if you have in your mind thoughts that are, I don't want to do this, right? Or I'm afraid of that, right? Then you don't have thoughts in your mind of, I want to do this and I have courage, right? And so it's your choice, right? Now, a lot of times you don't realize it's your choice. A lot of times we do this, right? You got, how was that look? You point, you're like, okay, it's your fault. So you got one finger pointing at somebody else, but three fingers are pointing back at you, right? You got to take responsibility, right? And once you take responsibility, it's like, okay, take responsibility what you think. Do you want to continue thinking, right, for the next 10 years about what you don't want? Or do you want to continue thinking for the next 10 years about what you do want? Because the more you think about what you do want, the more clear it becomes. And the more clear it becomes, the more potential of it becoming real. Layla, go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I feel like, one of my friends, he actually graduated from Georgia State with like a business accounting degree. Mm-hmm. However, since he's graduated, he has like no interest, following through with
what?
Like having a job within his degree. And so he's still working, part-time jobs that he hates just as much as he would hate working in accounting. And the other day I was telling him, I was like, I don't really get it. I was like, you have this set goal of like where you'd like financially to be by the time you're 30, but you're taking these jobs when you have the opportunity to do these other things to get where you need to be. And then you can do what you want to do. So I don't know. I just feel like everything is just like temporary. Just because you take the 45 per hour job doesn't mean that you're going to work in that field for the rest of your life. There's still, I feel like there's plenty of time to pursue things that you're actually interested in. And in my case, personally, I'm lucky enough to know that my interest, I'm able to pursue it at any point in my life rather than taking that 15 per hour job now and being broke and not being able to live the way that I would like to live.
So real
So I
quick,
just think,
let me hit you up with this question. So you said you could pursue what you want at any point in your life. So are you implying that you're pursuing it right now?
like, what I'm interested in.
Yeah, what you're interested in. You said you could pursue it at any point in your life. So my question is, are you pursuing it right this very moment in your life?
I'm doing things to work towards it.
Okay,
I'm interested in owning a beauty salon.
okay,
So I've started to take courses in hair and makeup and nails. So, and then meanwhile, I'm in college for a business degree so that I can work towards it. But in the meantime, like I get my inheritance when I'm 30.
okay,
In the meantime, I'm going to be working until I'm able to open up my shop.
okay.
So I can
So part of what you're working is that as you work, you're putting some money away to build your business, and
portfolio and
that you're working on a business plan,
yes.
right, for your business, right? And you're sharing that business plan with potential investors or potential partners or potential employees. Is that what you're doing?
Well, I can't do that yet because I'm still learning the
Okay.
ins and out about it. I mean,
I figured that, right? But I just wanted to push you a little bit that if you're going to start a business, right, hair care business, right, you need a business plan.
right.
Okay.
And my intent,
And you need, and again, if you're one thing about what we're going to learn through work of Robert Kiyosaki, right, is that employees, right, have jobs, small business owners own jobs. So being a small business owner doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be financially free. It might mean you're stuck. Like, for example, right, I own a business, right? I own some real estate downtown, which includes a convenience store. The owner of that convenience store is there from 8 o'clock in the morning to 12 o'clock at night, but it's his business. He's stuck, it's like one of these Arab businesses, convenience store where they got the bulletproof glass and all that, right? And so he's stuck in this little box from 8 o'clock in the morning to 12 midnight, right? That's owning a job, right? Now, is that, if you're doing hair, right? Are you going to have staff, right? Or are you going to have to do, are you going to be the person who opens the door at 7 o'clock in the morning and close the door at 9 o'clock at night, right? Is that the life you really want, right? So those are things that you really got to be aware of when those of us who are thinking like, I don't want to be an employee for somebody else. I want to follow my dream. I want to follow my passion, right? Well, following those dreams and passion, no matter what, right? You're going to have to put your time in, okay? Tyler Bodie, please.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. I think it starts with having a real conversation with yourself. And sometimes that real conversation is an uncomfortable one.
Explain that. Explain what you mean.
All right. So I've been in my career for 4.5 years. I make a pretty decent amount of money that some people would be really happy to have. I get, the government gives me 5%, which matches my, I could put in 5%, they match 5%, but I put in 10% towards a 401k for retirement. Some people will be happy with that. Some people will be happy with the income that I make. But about a year ago, I was like, I can't do this for the rest of my life. I'm miserable. So that's why I'm back in school.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so again, that's the, now, if you are a 20th century person and you were responsible for a couple of kids, you're going to keep that job. Is that right, Tyler?
That's correct.
Yeah. But again, we're, the rules of the 21st century. And again, this is what I hope that we figure out here. But the rules of the 21st century are different than the rules of the 20th century. And we're going to have to work that thing. And you know what? I think that because that you young men and women who are concerned about your passion, right, and looking for that passion that generates income, that's leveling up for my generation, right? That's beautiful, right? Like people in the past, individuals in the past have pursued their passions in the 20th century or the last, even 200,000 years ago. There was that one warrior who thought differently than everybody else did, right? And he changed the world of that village, right? Or he changed the world of that nation, right? But today in the 21st century, it's not going to be that one warrior anymore, right? It's going to be all of us, right? So if we have a consensus reality, right, that all young people are pursuing their passions, I'll be happy, right? Because I may not know what your passion is, but I know if you're pursuing a passion, right, that for you to be successful in your passion, you got to level up. Even if you're a gangster, right? Even if you're a gangster, that's your passion, right? Like I don't want to, come across a gangster, right? But I get it, right? Some gangsters, right? They put their time in, right? But generally, what happens is, what happens to gangsters, right? They either go to jail, they die, or they change, right? They figure out, yo, I don't want to deal with this life anymore. And they use their creativity to get out of that game, right? But some go to jail, right? Some die, right? But pursuing passions, I think that is something very significant to the 21st century. Ashton. Go ahead, Ashton.
Also, I wanted to add on to that. For the 21st century and the rules that come with it, I feel like the passion is going to be the thing that really allows people to live the kind of life that they want. Because like you were saying earlier, AI is getting smarter. We're having more conversations about it. So with that being said, all the regular jobs that we usually do, like flipping burgers and stuff like that, all of that is going to go to a machine. Right now we live in a time where it's like, students don't really even use their brain no more when it comes to doing math. They use the calculator. So it's like that question you said, what makes the difference between AI and people? I feel like the difference is, the example with the calculators, they mad smart. Well, they can do a lot of problems, but they're not really smart. They're just replicating what they already know. They're just replicating the program. With AI, they're just replicating the program. It could be programmed to feel, but it can only be programmed to feel certain emotions. So with all that being said though, yeah, so I feel like the passion is what's going to help us get to the other side of that spectrum. You said also owning a job, small business owners own a job, right? I feel like the passion will get us to the other side of, instead of being employee and small business owner, to investor and big business, because yeah.
Like
so
it. Got me rubbing my hands.
yeah.
All right, class. I think this is a pretty good conversation. What y'all think? Yeah. Anybody else want to share? No. All right. Now, before you leave, I got a whole page of people with no cameras on. Can you put your cameras on real quick before I ask you to leave?
I have
Randall.
a question.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to make sure that we didn't have to turn in our bullet points anywhere and just like have them prepared to speak about today.
No, you did have to turn them in on the discussion board of Blackboard.
When I checked, I didn't see one there, but I'll check
Hold on, let me
again.
double check. I thought I put it up there. Hold on.
There was only one from last week. We didn't put a new one.
Yeah,
from
no,
so
we
we
didn't
all,
do that one.
yeah, so we
I'm
all
glad.
have to submit it.
Like I said, I'm dealing with this 21st century also, right? So I did not put it up there. I'm going to put it up right now, and so I'm going to give you the last 3 minutes. I'm going to give me some of that 3 minutes to go ahead and put this up, and if you can, just drop it in the discussion board. I see that we do have February.
Because I put mine in last week's too.
Yeah, a couple people did put it in the last week folder because there was no other folder.
All right, so well, just redo it. I'm gonna create the folder right now, and it'll be ready in a couple minutes, and just put it into the new folder, right? So one thing, let me just say this, right? Like what just happened with regard to me and the discussion board, right? Like perfection doesn't exist, I mean, it does. Like there's perfection in imperfection, right? The idea of like always pushing the frontier, right? Like there's no business. Like one thing that good businessmen and good business women will say is that I made more mistakes than most people made. Right? That's important to understand. I made more mistakes than most people made. What do you think the moral of that story is before we get off this chat?
You're trying more than most people. If you make more mistakes, you're trying more and you're learning more.
That's right, right. And so like, I'm not, I don't feel like insecure or uncomfortable with the fact that I made that mistake, right? Because I know I'm pushing the envelope, right? I'm pushing the frontiers, right? And I want you to push the envelopes and frontiers. And if you make mistakes, they're not mistakes, right? You have the right to define your experience. You don't have to call them mistakes. You could call them challenges, right? So that challenge, I thank you for sharing that with me, right? That I didn't put that up, and I'm going to put it up right now. Anybody else? All right, so that's class. If anybody wants to stick around for a second, I'll be here. Go ahead, Jacob. Anybody?
Oh, I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, okay.
I want to ask. So I put my discussion thing on the last week's thing. So should I just copy and paste that over to the new one when you open it up?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, thank you.
It will help me out.
All right, have a good night. Good day.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask, do you think that experience has to do with a lot of people's choices?
Definitely, that's the social heredity stuff that I was talking about.
Okay.
And like I gave the example of myself that I had working class experiences, so I had working class outcomes, right? It is just that, I was the penultimate. I got a PhD, but I was still working class. It wasn't until I started reading Rich Dad Poor Dad that I started developing multiple sources of income.
Okay.
Okay.
Because from the audio, I remember hearing life is the best teacher, and life doesn't push you to do your best, it pushes you around. And I feel like that has to do a lot with experience.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely. And you could allow, like the thing is, like you might allow life, like I've noticed, I remember like in high school, right? There might have been some people who were pushed around in high school. But next thing you know, they're multi-billionaires, right? I mean, it's like, okay, life pushed them around, but they responded to it in a way that they leveled up. They became better human beings. A lot of times your passion is, somebody messed with you and you get so competitive that you're never going to let that happen again, right? That's one way of using passion. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Anybody else?
Did you see how Visa is now doing things with Bitcoin?
No, tell me about that.
Yeah, so basically all these big companies are going towards cryptocurrency and all this stuff. And like there was because there's some guy that I watched that like he does like a deep analysis on all of that. And he was just saying how like there was like an interview and it was like the CEO of Visa or whatever. And they was just talking about how they've been talking to like other companies about cryptocurrency, banks, like their future goal is to have everything crypto. And yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I definitely again, we're going to be doing this workshop, so I'm going to invite everybody to the workshop, right? But we're moving into a digital age. I mean, whether it's Bitcoin or what have you, it's like what I'm noticing right now is something that I noticed in 1999, 2000, 2001. Every brick and mortar store or every entrepreneur was building a .com, right? And then as that whole growth period played its way out, 9 out of 10 of those .coms failed. And so the same thing is happening on the blockchain right now, is that there's businesses being built on those blockchains like exponentially. But once it shakes this way all out, right, probably 9 out of 10 of those businesses on the blockchain will probably go under, okay, including the cryptos, right? But I kind of feel that one crypto that's going to stay pretty consistent will be Bitcoin, right? Because it's kind of easy, right? Right now, it's just kind of easy for people to, like, if you're afraid of understanding about blockchain, or if you're that, right, just dabbling a little bit with Bitcoin just get you into the right space, right? Just the right space, okay? But yeah, I mean, I think, even the Federal Reserve Bank is looking at cryptos, right? I mean, based on my education. It just seems that blockchains and cryptos, that's where we're at right now. And we you know, the those of you who are entrepreneurial, right, or have an investor or a trader mindset, I mean, I kind of feel that that's one place that we should be studying.
And you have mentioned like during class or whatever, how you have your own like real estate business.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
is like some advice for like the younger generation trying to
Well, you can ask Ashton, because Ashton works with us in the Leadership Academy and Community Building Economics.
wait, what's the leadership? Wait, hold on. Rewind. What's that?
Ashton, tell her, please.
So yeah, basically it's a mastermind group that, you know, people come together, put investments for business ideas that we plan to open. And yeah, it's a collective of students, you know, other people from who are not students, just, you know, like that.
How I get in that?
Well,
yeah,
we'll give you opportunity to participate after our panel discussion on February 27th.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
I want to add one thing. So about, you know, the direction we're going as a economy and, you know, just like a society. For those people, I feel like who don't find their passion, because we spoke a lot about that in class. So let's just say, you know, you're one of those individuals who's like, hey, you know, I don't really like, I don't know what I like yet, or I don't know what I want to do yet. I feel like the way the future is going with all this AI stuff, those people will still be situated because I remember when this election with Biden and Trump, it was this Andrew Chang, I think his name was, and he was trying to do the universal economy. And I feel like that whole idea of a universal economy, that is a
universal income.
I mean, universal income. Yeah, my bad. Universal income. And I feel like that right there is inevitable, because if we're gonna go have AI do everything for us, like all the basic jobs, then that means there's a lump sum of money being made that's not going to anywhere. So I feel like that's where the money for the universal income is going to come from, and the people who are going to receive that money are the people who don't have passions or not, you know, as business minded in the new.
So universal income is going to create laziness.
No. Because there's going to be, I feel like there's going to be two factions of people. There's going to be the people who, you know, they want to do stuff, but they don't have, like, they don't know what to do or how to do it. And then there's going to be the people that have their goals, passions, and things that they want to do, and they're just going to pursue it. But the thing that's going to separate the two is, once you pursue, from what we've seen already, like the little snippets of it, it's either you get a certain amount of money a month, or you get a certain amount, or you get your benefits paid for. So I feel like the people who are like more entrepreneurial, they'll go with the getting their benefits paid for, so they could kind of like just focus on their business. And the people who don't do that stuff, they'll be focused more on the money, because they'll be focused on materials and trying to really, like, they'll be the people that build the economy, you know, because they're going to be all doing all the spending, less building.
Yeah, we need to build for sure. Okay. Anybody else? All right, I think we're good then.
If anyone's in the stock market right now, there is going to be a big merger happening with CCIV. That's the ticker. Last month they were $10 a share. Right now they're $58 a share, and there's a $12 billion merger happening with them.
Okay, I'll take a look at it. Thanks.
You said CCIV.
CCIV, yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
We're creating our own mastermind group. I appreciate it. All right, folks. I'm out of here later.
Bye, y'all.
Mhm.